For more on that, we're joined now by Yossi Abraham Shelley. He's Israel's ambassador to the United Arab Emirates since February, and he joins us today from Abu Dhabi. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you for having me for this interview.
Let's jump straight in and talk about business and trade, which currently stands at around $3 billion annually between the two countries. And not only that, it grew around 11% between the years 2023 and 2024, of course, after the October 7th attacks. Just talk me through what is driving this trade partnership and where you see potential areas for growth.
First, as you see, after the 7th of October, the resilience between the relationship, the Israel and UAE, are quite strong. And this is the reason why the UAE government, the Emiratis, could supply to Gaza all the humanitarian aid. It's actually 44%, of course, entering to Gaza. They are the only one, because of those accords, that been able to enter the humanitarian aid to repair, water problem with the canalization, pipelines and all this, and to give this aid. And this is actually one of the strengths of the accords.
Now, a partnership with the UAE is not just about bilateral trade, is it? It's also about integrating Israel into the region. And this is slightly more challenging in the current climate, isn't it? Where are we with the big infrastructure projects like the IMEC trade corridor, this project to link India to Europe via the Gulf and Israel? And do you think these big projects might be stuck somewhat in the current climate?
Look, the IMEC, I brought the map. So we know exactly, this is India, through the sea, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. And we see the benefit of this issue. Just to emphasize two things. First, you have the two passages, Hormuz in the UAE and Bab el-Mandab in the north, near the Yemen, the Houthis. So in this new corridor, to move goods and things to part of the Middle East to Europe through ships, it takes 10 days minimum. And of course, all the risk of being bombarded by the Yemens, as we saw in the last 2-3 years. And of course, it will shortcut. It will be 3 days traveling through the road, as I mentioned. Sea, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. So it's not just, it's first secure, and then it will reduce the cost of, the delivery. Usually it's a big cost of, and of course the time to see.
It's a huge project, and it would be transformative, and it would really be a game changer, wouldn't it, for Israel's place in the region? But, however, it cannot advance until Saudi Arabia signs the Abraham Accords. And as we've seen this month, the Crown Prince is not interested in doing that at the moment. So how do you get around that? And how do you continue to advance the relationship with the UAE?
Yes, I was less optimistic before the visit of the Crown Prince MBS in the US. He sat with Trump, and we saw the first time that they said that what important for the Saudi is to resort to make a patron to a Palestinian state. And this is a big change. Before he said, until there is no Palestinian state, they will not join the accord. And now it's a kind of change. You want to see a patron through the peace. And as a businessman in my past, I know that there are two ways to make business. First, you start step by step, and during the step, you are enforcing your relationship, and you arrive, and you less suspicious with your friends or business associates, or just to wait to the final point. You said until they will not create a Palestinian state, nothing will go on. And I think that this change of concept is good for the region, for the Middle East. And you always, as we know, you can always stop some things that you don't like.
So are you in favor then of agreeing to a pathway to a Palestinian state?
If look, this issue is not just my decision. It's a long way to do it. Everyone has to change the concept. And as you see, we are not in this way doing it. We have our regional, local problem with, with the terror, with the Hamas, with the Islamic Brotherhood, with Hezbollah. You cannot do things just to say, okay, to make a V check on a list, we done it. How we survive? The 7th of October give a big change to the mindset of the Israelis.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, as someone who is a diplomat based in the Gulf, who wants to advance Israel's relationships in the Gulf, do you think it's time that the Israeli government, whoever that might be, announces publicly, yes, we would be okay with some kind of pathway to a permanent Palestinian state, if that means we can have normalization with Saudi Arabia and advance with all these big projects?
Look, to say, first, if you say you want to know to whom you are saying it, to declare to the world, and what about where will be this state? In Gaza, where the Hamas, in Judah and Samaria? Who is the leader? Now we see that we have two positions. One, the Hamas is running Gaza for the last 20 years. And you have the Palestinian authorities. First, let they arrange themselves and decide who is running the business in those territories. And then I hope that Israel will think about it.
So that's a no.
No, I didn't say no. Right. It says it's a process. Okay. It's a process. But
so agree to a pathway then, if it means making the Saudis happy and moving ahead with these big projects.
Look, I think that there is no. It's not. It doesn't have to be connected to yes or no question. It's like maybe it's not a good example. Might say married. You have to know before marrying to see the people, to understand, and to the Palestinian Authority have to change. They have to stop financing terrorists that are murdering Jews that are murdered by Palestinians get a pension for all their life. Do you think that we can do business with those administration?
Okay. Some diplomats in the Gulf have expressed concern about Israel's new military superpower status in the region. And they welcome the decimation of Hamas and Hezbollah, but they're far less enthusiastic about IDF strikes on the new Syrian government in Damascus. And they were also really alarmed by the strike on Doha earlier this year. I know you yourself were summoned for a reprimand over that. So how do you convince the Emiratis that a stronger Israel is an asset and not a threat?
Look, first, as you've seen, everybody here had a common enemy, it's named Iran. Even that people don't mention it. So we took care of it because we were strong enough to try to eliminate the nuclear facilities and the long missile, the ballistic missile. Of course, with the aid of the US. So being strong in the Middle East is not weak. It's not a weakness. It's a strength. This is combining with countries. They know that you can trust. If you look to our history, we never attack countries unless they harbor terrorists, like in the case of Qatar, unfortunately. Israel never attacked. Israel never in the 5-6 war took territories just to prosper. If they attacked us, sometimes lose. We call the IDF Israel Defense Army, not Israel Attack Army.
But Qatar,
we are dealing with the Iron Dome and all those systems.
Qatar didn't attack Israel, did it, per se?
But I told you that if they harbor terrorists from the Islamic Brotherhood and the Hamas, and they are happy there and torturing our prisoner and very quiet and comfort, it cannot be. You cannot be to rule the business from outside and stand still and say, go here, go there, and nobody will harm you.
But did you, I mean...
by the way, after this attack, you can believe it or not, they set and release the hostages. How come?
True. Yeah. I just want to talk a bit more about what happened after that strike on Doha when you were summoned by the Emiratis. I mean, they were very upset. They were very alarmed by that, weren't they? How did you reassure them? How did that go, that meeting?
Look, first, I wasn't personally in the meeting. My my DCM, the vice ambassador, was here because I was in Israel. But look, they have to do their process. Sometimes in the diplomatic way, when you are not happy, you call the ambassador. Maybe they shouldn't do it, but they do it. So I don't claim about it. This is the way of, and of course, everybody is afraid of his sovereignty, and this is a way to express that they are not happy with that. And as you know, Israeli took charge on this attack. And okay, this is part of the challenges, the obstacles that we have by being partner with a great country like the UAE.
The UAE also reacted very strongly, didn't it, to the Israeli government's threat to annex communities in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and stopping Israel from doing that in 2020 was one of the reasons they signed the Abraham Accords in the first place. Given the far-right element to the current coalition and the fact that they support annexation, and in the case of Minister Smotrich, have also insulted the Saudis, do you think that there's a sense Abu Dhabi is holding Israel at arm's length for now because they don't want to give the current government any victories as we head towards the election?
Look, first, as you personally said, annexation was a part of, there are parties in Israel. Israel is a what we call how we call it. It's a parliament system. You have parties, and the parties are nominating the PM. So everyone, that in a few months to go, maybe 1 year maximum, less, there will be election. So everyone wants to strengthen his force, maybe to gain more vote. But what's important is the current government didn't say so. It was like an option. Others say, in the end of the day, nobody annexed, nobody say that, okay, let's vote for it.
Well, they threatened, the Prime Minister threatened to do it, and the UAE reacted very strongly. They said that would be an absolute red line for us. That is something we've been dead against since the beginning, and that would have a real impact on our relationship going forward.
Okay, I will tell you sometime when what we call the acquisition stands still and nobody moves, sometimes you have to do something. If you are not catching the train now, maybe you lose more. So maybe it was just to wake up the people.
All right. More of a personal question. You've been in the Emirates for a few months now. How are you enjoying life there? Because it is said, isn't it, that it is one of the nicer places to live for Jews in the world right now when you compare it to the United States or Europe, for example. How are you enjoying life there?
Yes, the UAE is very secure. People can go outside, can worship, and can really, we feel good. Even that there are a lot of threats, from people, but we feel good. We can, people are coming. There are more than 1.1 million tourists from the last year, 2024, that visit the UAE. 80% continue to Asia, but 20-25%, it's a lot of people are staying here, having fun and enjoying the beautiful country.
Ambassador Shelley, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for your time, and let's meet again.